I enjoy challenges, and sometimes they come to me as a request for a custom order. I currently stock crayon holders in the shapes of a dachshund, a bear, a dinosaur, and an alligator. A potential customer asked if I could make a crayon holder shaped like a unicorn. I told her I'd have to see if I could find a suitable pattern first, but I'd do a little research and get back to her with an answer. It didn't take me long to find a line drawing of a unicorn on the internet, so I printed the picture and went to the local library to use their copier to enlarge the unicorn picture to a suitable size. I responded to the email once again, and we reached an agreement. I needed some 6/4 oak for the crayon holder. I had some on hand, but it wasn't wide enough to accommodate the height of the unicorn. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to edge glue 2 pieces of oak together to create a piece wide enough for the project. After the glue up dried, I covered the board with scroll saw tape, and then I used a utility knife to pry up a corner to peel off the backing. This is a transparent double-sided tape used to attach patterns to wood. I like it because it doesn't produce a mess like spray adhesives. The tape holds the pattern firmly in place while you cut, but it peels off easily when you're done without leaving any sticky residue behind. I'll leave a link to my source for the tape in the description. I'll also leave a link to my video on 9 ways to attach patterns to wood in case you'd like to learn about other possible methods. Standard crayons fit perfectly into a 3/8 inch hole. From making previous crayon holders, I know that spacing them 1/2 inch on center keeps them far enough apart in the holder while allowing you to fit as many crayons as possible on the animal's back. The unicorn's back is nowhere near as long as the alligator and dachshund, so I can only fit 4 rows long by 2 wide on it. That will be enough for a box of 8 crayons, and that size was okay with the customer. I'm ready to start cutting and chose a number 12 Pegasus modified geometry blade for the task. Since the material is 6/4 oak and the pattern is not complex, I know from experience that this blade is the correct pick. If you're new to scroll sawing and want to learn more about choosing a proper blade for each task, I'll leave a link to my video on the subject on the screen and in the description. Even with a number 12 blade, cutting this pattern will be a slow process. I need to watch myself so that I don't start putting extra pressure on the blade to try and speed up the process. That doesn't work. Instead of cutting faster, the blade tends to flex, and you get a curved rather than a 90-degree cut. Excessive pressure can also cause the blade to overheat, burn the wood, or break the blade. I need to take my time and let the blade do the work. The lines are relatively wide because I enlarged the picture by 150%. Typically, I cut right on the line and the blade obliterates it, but that's not happening here. It didn't matter where I cut, so I decided to stay right in the middle of the line. Oddly enough, that's more challenging than cutting precisely on the line. Another place I have to pay particular attention is to what lines not to cut. When working from a pattern designed for scroll saw cutting, there are usually only lines in places where you need to cut. This pattern came from a line drawing of a unicorn, and if I got distracted, I could easily cut off the legs, the horn, or other parts. I'll make what I would call detail cuts at the bottom of the unicorn's head, its mouth, and the tops of its legs. Those tiny details sometimes make an enormous difference in the overall project's look. I sped up this next section because I thought you should have a good idea by now about how slowly the cutting was progressing. I went past the detail for the unicorn's mouth because that would be easier to make from the other direction. The top of the horn was near the board's edge, so I cut past the horn to the edge and then removed the large waste piece. It was now easy to go back and cut that minor detail for the unicorn's mouth. For now, at least, I decided to leave the mane in place. If I don't like how it looks later, I can always trim it out. It was an easy cut along the back to the tail, and the turn at the end of the tail wasn't difficult either. I followed the line to the bottom of the hoof, then made a 90-degree turn to produce a flat bottom. As I cut upward on that first rear leg, I came to one of those spots where I had to ignore one of the lines. Otherwise, I would have cut off the unicorn's other rear leg. Then I made the turn to cut the underside of the unicorn's belly, and the last turn to follow the back of one of the legs. I was left with a large waste piece when I removed what I had cut. I don't often have a use for large pieces of 6/4 material, so I'm not sure what I'll use this for, but it's too large to just throw away. Next, I went back to make the detail cut between the unicorn's ears, then the accent to delineate between its 2 rear legs. I peeled off the pattern with the scroll saw tape from my first look at the unicorn and was pleased with it. I now need to drill the holes for the crayons. That's all I have for this project. I didn't record drilling the holes or even take still photos of the unicorn because I needed to get it to the customer for Christmas. But I thought the first part of the process might be of interest to you more than the end. I usually work from plans designed by others, although sometimes I make changes to them, but not always. I wanted to give you at least a bit of an idea of how to make your own projects from scratch if you're so inclined. As always, I appreciate and respond to every comment. Please give the video a like if you found it interesting, entertaining, or helpful. 2 suggestions for what to watch next are on the screen now.